another beautiful roundtable event with the most beautiful humans on the planet. And cat experts and extravanaires.
Extravanaires is a great Monday word. Let's go with it.
I don't think that's a word. Today's subject is all about introducing cats, and we're super excited to talk about this for the main reason because we are in the process of introducing a cat, and there are lots of questions that you guys have had for us, and I'm excited to be able to answer them here with you guys today. Great idea, Julianne Thorne, for this subject this week. It's pretty perfect. So let's do just a short introduction. And this time I actually want you guys to, if there's anything that you guys have coming up, make sure that you tell everybody what you got coming up, because people here may want to go and do the stuff and things.
Pam, let's start with you.
I am Pam with Purrrfectlyholistic.com. I am a board certified holistic health coach, holistic health practitioner, and I work mainly with cats. I'm into the woo-woo and the muscle testing and the energy testing and all the energy work, and it's fabulous and it's life-changing. I'm actually doing a radio show tonight, and it's all about a deep dive on feline hyperesthesia syndrome. And it's what I have learned over the last year or so of working on countless cats with FHS symptoms. So it's an energetic perspective on what I've observed, what causes, what's resonating, as you know, they're all exposed to certain different things, but there's a lot of similarities. And so it will be a deep dive discussion into all of that, and pointing people in the direction to find things that they can do to resolve that naturally.
That is beautiful. I'm so excited about that, because that's one of the issues that so few people know about, that we learned about early on. And then it was like, even veterinarians, a lot of veterinarians don't even diagnose it because they don't even know it's an option. So thank you for that. And that is going to be on your Facebook page?
Facebook page and YouTube tonight at 7 Central.
Okay. Purrrfectly Holistic. That's Purrrfectly Holistic. Dr. Katie.
I'm Dr. Katie Woodley, holistic integrative veterinarian. I treat both dogs and cats. However, I have a special place in my heart for those kitty cats. So I help people uncover the root cause of their pets' health issues that's keeping you stuck and going to the vet clinic over and over for the same problems. So using fresh food diets, how to transition, using herbal medicine, essential oils, and other natural remedies. And emotional health is a key component also, which I love, the energetic work side of things. So teaching pet parents how to be confident and supported and guided, so that way you're not just stuck in that vicious cycle of treating only symptoms, so you can actually get true healing. So the big thing for me and our program is our blueprint program, where we can guide you, educate you, and empower you, most importantly, to be able to show up and be the best advocate for your pets as possible. So we have a free masterclass at our website, thenaturalpetdoctor.com, and it's an application program. So definitely reach out to us if you want to learn more. If you have any questions, I love partnering with other amazing pet parents like all the people here. So that's what we're doing.
Wonderful.
Doing it well, my ass.
Yeah.
Julianne
Thorne.
Hello, everyone. So lovely to see everybody in the comments that are joining us live. It's so beautiful to have people here. So my name is Julianne Thorne, and I'm a holistic cat therapist, and I'm currently working on my second book, Cat Chakras: How to Clear, Cleanse and Rebalance Your Cat's Core Energy Centers. So if anybody pre-orders their copy, they can come and join me for book club. So we're going to be live once every 3 weeks, and I'll give people book updates. You can ask me questions about the book. You help me basically finalize and shape the book. So you can pre-order your book through my website, naturallycats.co.uk. First book club is tomorrow. Oh no, Wednesday. First book club is Wednesday, which I'm super excited about. And for other things for me, so Pam and I are going live on Thursday night doing energy insights. So Pam does muscle testing for 3 cats, and I do chakra sensing for 3 cats. So come and join us live on YouTube and Facebook for that. I think that'll do for right now, because otherwise I could just sit and talk about cat stuff like all night, and we've actually got a beautiful topic tonight. So you can find me on all the social medias, Naturally Cats.
Love it.
You're going to say something. You're going to say, my love.
Oh, I was going to ask what time on Thursday for the
Oh,
energy.
7:30 UK and 1:30
Central.
Central.
Zones are hard. I'm
They
just
are.
so glad that we're all here together at the same time.
This is true. And
All
thank you everyone for joining us today. I see so
Yes.
many of you already in the comments. We're excited about
This
specific topic on introducing cats. So most people, or we, let's just say, I had no idea that there was an actual like tried and true step-by-step program, if you will, that you can take when you're introducing cats into a new home with other cats. I was like, I think Pam's frozen, but you were just still. But there is actually a step-by-step. Now, the step-by-step process isn't always the same. So that step-by-step process isn't always the same timing. It's not always the same. It doesn't always look the same. And as everything else is that we talk about, it's based on the personality of your cat and cats, right, in your home. So, however, a lot of times you just throw cats together and sometimes it actually works out just great, right?
Right.
We've done that.
We've
also done it. We've also thrown cats together and it has not worked out well at all.
Which is how we learned.
Second option's me.
Yep.
So let's just start going around the table and talking a little bit about your experiences with introducing kitties, and then we'll talk a little bit about where we're at today with Annie.
Yes. Okay, I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
So when I first had Pickle, so this is like 10, 15 years ago. She was my baby girl. Like, she was the only cat. We had a lovely relationship. And then my human partner at the time was jealous of my relationship with the cat, right? So we decided to get a second one. And I knew nothing about behavior, introductions, cats being unique, like nothing. This was all before my training. And we did exactly that. So we brought the kitten home and we let the two of them like be together. Oh my God, it was an absolute... It was carnage. It was horrendous. So the kitten, beautiful, sweet, curious, really excited, really loving. Pickle, like if she had a flamethrower, like there'd be no kitten left, right? She shot daggers from her eyes. She was like puffy. She wouldn't eat. She wouldn't come to me. She was hiding away. It was horrendous, and I knew nothing. So that's when I trained and did a behavior qualification and became certified, because I was like, good God, there's got to be a better way to do this, right? And then realized that I was going to say we did it wrong, but as you ladies have said, there are some times when you put them together and it goes well. So we didn't do it wrong, but for us, it wasn't the best way to do it. So despite the fact that we'd had probably 2 weeks together, I then started to do the behavior course and learnt about introductions and scent transfer and, limited exposure, of all of which I'm sure we'll come on to when we talk about ways to introduce them. But like, I'm going to pass it over to Katie in a minute, because she said that, she did just put them together and it went really well. And sometimes that's the way it goes. For us, like, it took me 6 months to get my relationship with Pickle back on track again after introducing Lily. And it was heartbreaking because I had no idea that was going to happen. I had no idea what to do. But when you learn about the simple steps, like you said, Jay, they're not in the same order for every home, and they're not at a certain time scale for every cat. So what I learned is that Pickle needed more time to adjust, and everything that I learned, I put into place for Leo and baby Max. And now they're sleeping on the same bed together. And they, baby Max licked Leo's ear the other day. So like, yeah, so it took us 5 months to get them together, but doing things slightly differently this time round, we did have good introductions, and we do have what I would say is a positive association multi-cat home now.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Now, Katie, and I want to go back to the time thing because very important. But Dr. Katie, you said that that you just threw the cats together.
Well, I didn't throw them together. Like, I was a little smarter than that. Be free, enjoy. So, and it's interesting too. I think it was Bob in the comments, like, our first two cats that we had were brother and sister, and they had like this love-hate relationship where they would sleep together and then they would still fight. So, I mean, there's, you know, things like each cat has a personality and a very different personality. They're unique individuals. So I think that's important. And also too, what Julianne said, like, when you learn more, you can do better, right? So if in the past, like, I don't feel guilty, like, because each one of us here has made what we would call a mistake, but it was a great learning lesson. And so for our cats, like, we've had multiple introductions over the past few years because of cats passing. And so I would say that I've probably gotten a little bit lucky with the way I introduced, because I didn't just put them immediately together. We put them in a separate room for each time. And so, like, for Kiwi, our senior cat, when her brother passed, she was very playful. So we thought she'd enjoy a kitten, which she would tell me now, no, I wouldn't. But we did it anyways, because I thought that was the best thing. And that was Moki, who is our cerebellar hypoplasia cat. He was terrified. And so he hid under the bed for the first week. I don't remember how long we kept him in a separate room, but it was probably for a good couple weeks. And then we started slowly introducing like Kiwi to him. To be honest, I didn't do scent swapping. I didn't, because it was just not something like on my radar, to be honest. And I'm a veterinarian. Like, that's, that's something where looking at better ways to do that, that's something I would do moving forward that can be really helpful. And Kiwi, the good thing is our house is really big in terms of there's space for them to run and like have like their own separate space. So Kiwi could like move away from Moki. But with Tico, the third cat that we weren't expecting, he was in my office, like tiny space. This is an outdoor cat. He wasn't neutered when we got him. And so we actually introduced him probably too quickly. But now looking at it, like, we didn't have any like aggressive fights. Poor Kiwi was a bit stressed. But looking at it now, like Kiwi and him, like all three of them were on the bed yesterday. And I was like, Brian, look, they're all together. Like, they're tolerating each other. And Kiwi will actually sit on my lap in the mornings with Tico sitting next to me. And she'll sniff him like he's, something foreign. But it's interesting just to see. And him and Moki are best friends now. So it's one of those things where 100% I didn't do it the right way. And I think this is really important for everyone here to like take these steps and implement them. But also too, looking at your individual pets also, like, there is no way I could have kept Tico in a room because my entire office would just be destroyed. It would make a great series, right? Live watching Tico destroy my office. But it was something where I felt okay to allow him the space to come out, and it worked okay for us based on the responses of the other cats. So that's kind of like my 2 cents. I know it's not 100% like the process that we're going to talk about today, but I want people to also recognize there's different ways of doing things. Knowing your own animals, implementing a lot of these tools will help get you the best results also, and keep your cat safe, not create all this undue stress that I created with Kiwi. So.
Love it. What about your history with introductions, Pam? How have they gone in your home?
Well, typically we've only brought in kittens. So in most cases, kittens are typically not viewed as a threat like an adult cat would, at least in our experience. So the soft heart of mine cannot stand the sound of a little baby kitten wailing because they're left alone, right? I mean, wailing. You've heard Aylin cry. Just imagine when she's like, this big. He's like, oh my God, I can't stand it. So the first night we got her, for example, we had put her in the master bathroom because we could close the doors. And she was just wailing. She was having none of it. So in the middle of the night, I put her in the we had a big like dog crate kennel. And I pulled it into the bedroom and set it right next to my bed so she could at least see me. And, like, I'm right here. But the other cats that were in the bed, they didn't get displaced. So that lasted probably about a day. And she's like, no, I want out. I want, So it was supervised. So we were always supervising her being out and about. And when we would leave, like right in, in the first couple weeks or so, we'd always put her by herself because there was still like not a lot of trust on our part. Like, I don't know what you're going to do. So we're just going to separate you until we can be visually watching them.
Right.
But other kittens, like I remember we brought Lily home and she slept right next to me on the first night, like under the covers, right here. She's like, no, I'm good. Again, they were small, so I don't think that the other cats felt very threatened, which we were very, very fortunate. They've always been like the older ones would just kind of be on the perimeter of the room and just sit back and watch, and the little one may go up to them and they would maybe do a little hiss, but there was no serious aggression or anything, thankfully, because, I didn't know anything like what we know now. So it was more of just like following that intuition, like, something says I shouldn't leave you alone with them yet. So I'm just going to protect you when we're not here until I know you're fully integrated and everyone is comfortable and everyone feels safe and you're not going to get attacked or anything crazy like that. And that, I mean, literally they would integrate within days. It was fascinating to watch.
That
Pam,
is.
you're lucky, by the way.
Yeah.
I know, but I have never had to do that with an adult cat. I think that would be a totally different situation. It would be much harder.
Yeah. So Pooh Bear, when we first introduced him, he was like 2 years old or 2.5 or something like that. And that's the one, he's, our best teacher. That's the one that, we did it as we always did whenever we found a cat, that we just like, throw them all together and let him hash it out, whatever. And it did not go well. It was blood and hair and
Carnage.
massive.
Carnage.
Yes. Carnage. It was massive fighting. And so that's when we learned that there is a proper introduction process that we didn't come up with, but other, those that came before us, those beautiful behaviorists came up with that helps the process. And then once we went through that process, it took 6 months. No, maybe longer. Longer than 6 months, over 6 months to get him acclimated into the home properly and where they were fighting. And that was the beginning of like, okay,
We have to figure out how to do
different way
this.
now. Fast forward, other than Annie now, the last two, fast forward to where we introduced Friday and Zorro. They were kittens, but they were sibling sets. So they were both, in their same safe space together, but they had each other. And then there was Jack and Madison, same thing, sibling set. They had each other. So it wasn't as difficult as, like you said, Pam, it is really hard for us to like leave her in her room by herself. We're swapping out. One of us sleeps with her every night. It's like, it's really hard to leave her in the room by herself when you can tell that when she cries, right. And she has the cutest is what she sounds like. It's like a double meow. It's so cute.
Oh, so sweet.
It's so cute.
There's a reel right there.
But yeah. And I think, maybe we just start going through the process.
Yeah, let's talk about the steps,
Let's talk
because I
about the
feel like,
steps. There's a lot of people.
there's a lot of, I think the first step that we didn't do with Pooh Bear, we kind of did, but for a very brief time, was we prepared a safe space.
Right.
And so anytime that we have a chance to adopt a kitten or a cat that has some of their own stuff like blankets or beds or stuff like that, it's great when you already have that stuff. You can kind of move it into the new space, a small room. We're blessed to have a guest room. He had a roommate when she came a couple of weeks ago. But where you can put those familiar things in that space, and then they have a finite area to kind of explore and not feel super intimidated by, all the new sounds and smells of a full house.
Yeah, and the purpose of the safe space is multifaceted, right? Like you want
Mm-hmm.
the cats that are in your home are already going to know that there's a cat behind that door, right? Like they are going to know that. You don't have to tell them. They're going to know that. But then the new kitten or cat is going to feel comfortable in a smaller area. So it's not the whole house with a bunch of other cats or another cat or other humans or whatever. They're going to feel safe if they have a safe space, right? And they're also going to be able to start taking in the smells, whether you're adopting from a rescue or side of the road, whatever it is. They're not familiar with the smells, and the cat's nose is so important, right? Their smells, their scent sensors are very, very important to their overall anxiety levels and well-being, right? Like mental well-being. So they're going to be able to start emotional health. So they're going to be able to start taking in the smells of the new space and feel like they're safe in that safe space.
The point of the safe space as well, it's about their territory. So like, cats are territorial. So just like you said, Jay, to their emotional and mental health, it's key for them to have a space where they feel safe, and that is defined territory. So that one room or whatever space you can create that is contained, like, it's going to make them feel safe and allow them to decompress from coming from the rescue center, from being taken off the side of the road, coming from the breeder house, whatever it may be, to adapt to change. So, we have to remember cats, most cats are neophobic. They don't react well to change. So we've got to give them the space to feel safe, because if they don't have that, that's where you start to see a lot of like behavioral reactions. Like people have popped in the comments, what do you do after cats have had a fight and then, they're not getting on again. And again, the cats don't feel safe, whatever the circumstance may be. So that contained space is really important for the new cat to feel established and to feel safe. And when you've got that and they're settled, whether that's a day or a week, then you can go on to the next step, right?
Yeah, no, I do want to say there's an important point at the end of the step number 1 that we don't want to take steps forward especially if you're rescuing them from the side of the road. We do want to check their health, right? We want to get them in and make sure that they are not carrying some disease or something that if we, start moving into the other steps, they can be not contaminating. They could contagious to other, they can be contaminating the other cats. I am so good with words. It could be,
infectious. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. To the other cats in your home. So we do want to make sure that they feel that they're healthy. And then also we don't want to move to the next step until, like you said, Julianne, that they are comfortable, that they are like, okay, now I feel good and safe.
And also our other cats as well. I mean, I think it's fascinating to watch how they respond, how, what their reaction is to there being somebody's door, just, are they curious? Are they stressed out? Paying attention to those things as soon as you bring them in, it's a fascinating thing. And it helps, the more that we know our cats' personalities, it helps to have that amount of time that maybe some of the other cats will need, and attention, reassurance, whatever it is, because Julianne, like you said, that territorial thing, it's not always, 1 week in the safe space and then we're off to the races. You're really paying attention, not just to how secure the newbie is starting to feel in their environment, but also how everyone else is responding to the dynamic.
Well. Yeah. And I will say Pooh Bear and Twist, when we brought in the kittens, even though they were kittens and technically not a threat, the older cats, they were definitely a threat to our older cats in our home at that time. Now we have, much younger kitties. And so this is going a lot faster, actually, even though everybody's like, why is she still in quarantine? Why did you let her out? It's still like, it's going a whole lot faster than it did prior because of the cats, the resident cats.
Yes. So number 1 is the safe space. Did we miss anything on that?
Yeah.
Pam, Dr. Katie?
No. And I think too, the vet visit.
Oh, the vet
safe
visit.
Space and vet visit is really, really important.
Yeah.
So, I think that's key, because you don't want to give parasites, infections, anything else to the other cats.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean, here's the other piece to that too. So let's say like Annie or like Tico, when we brought him in, we did the vet visit just to test. for infectious diseases, brought a stool sample in. It doesn't mean if there's something going on that you have to get rid of them either. I think that's a key component also. There's so many different ways that we can support their immune health. We've talked a lot about this, like the past few years, right? Like the natural remedies. So I think that's another key component too, because I think there might be some fear taking this cat in that they rescued and they're already like emotionally attached to, that if something's wrong, I have to take them back, or, so keep that in mind also. There's a lot of ways to naturally support a cat who is maybe having some like immune compromise, like disease or something like that. It doesn't mean you have to give them away.
Yeah, very, very good point. That's Jack and Madison, when they came in, they actually had calicivirus. And before step number one, we treated them with, natural products and made sure that they were, symptom free and healthy before we went on to step 2, which is.
What is step number 2? So the scent swapping. Yeah. This is where it's really exciting to watch how your cats react. When in that safe space, hopefully the kitten has either you create some of their own favorite things, or they already have some that come with them from the shelter or wherever. And then just gradually, after you kind of take the read on the newbie in the house, then you take some of your cat's stuff and some of the newbie's stuff, and you swap them out and you let them explore scent. And I think what's really exciting about this is when you watch a cat get a whiff of something, they become very alert. You'll see their eyeballs dilate, their pupils dilate. This is why it's so important to not have visual sight yet when it comes to scent swapping, is that they get to realize that there's all these new scents and they get to explore them without feeling intimidated by a new presence, right? Mm-hmm. So they're not seeing each other. They're literally just smelling each other and getting familiar in a way that doesn't feel threatening at all.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When we did this with Baby Max and Leo, we started off with socks, like odd socks. I would stroke it on the side of their face. They got scent glands here. And I advise this to clients when you've got cats that are having issues with each other. You do scent work, you get a sock, you put it on the face, put it on the floor, let the other cat sniff it, and then you get to a point where you've got one sock for one cat, one sock for another, and then you use one and you just go between the two. And then we also started to switch their scratching posts, because that was a resource that they were using 3 or 4 times a day, and then what we would do is we would rub our hands on it as well, so that when we were putting it into Baby Max's space or bringing his into the home, not only could the cat smell the other cat, they could also smell us, and we were the constant, which would provide extra emotional comfort. So we kind of added the layer with the scent work, and try to do it as often as we could. So we started off like we would change, I don't know, something once a day, and then we would do it more regularly, more frequently, and like you said, scent work is really indicative of how your cat's potentially going to adapt, because some cats will go up to it, sniff and walk away because they're just not bothered, right? Yeah. They're like, yeah, okay, great, lovely. And actually that will give you a bit of an indication that your introductions could potentially go a bit quicker than others. Yes. Whereas, if you've got a cat that you let them sniff something and they hiss and their ears go flat and their eyes go big and the tail goes puffy and the hackles go up on their back, you're going to be in it for the long haul, right? And you've got to be patient. Like, I always say to my clients, you go at the pace of the slowest adjusting cat, and that isn't always the new one, right? That could be or it could be the new one. You just don't know. So the more you can watch them and read them, and that doesn't take a behaviorist to do. Anybody who loves their cats, all the people watching this, we've done it. You can see them and trust your intuition, as Pam said. It won't steer you wrong. If you think that things aren't going quite right, or it doesn't feel good to go to the next level, don't do it. Just be patient and take your time with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. With Annie, it was pretty easy because we didn't think that we were going to keep her. We thought she was someone else's cat. So, when we brought her home, we had a blanket that we kind of like wrapped her in because it was kind of chilly outside. And then she slept on that blanket in the shop while we, that first night, while we just waited to see who was going to claim her. And so that blanket was the only thing that we had for scent swapping, whereas her room was full of, we brought the other cat's toys in, we brought the other cat's trees in, everything, you know, so her room was like, she was absorbing all the smells. But the resident cats, the rest of them were, you know, they only had that blanket, but they went up to that blanket, and I was like, well, let's bring this out so that they can do the scent swapping. And they all went up to it like, what? I don't care. Like it was so, I was like, okay, that was easy.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So next step is site swapping, right?
Site swapping. So this is I love this stuff because it's one that we didn't really necessarily practice that much. And what we're doing right now with Annie, where our older kiddos, they'll get some outside time in the catio. And while they're out there, we open up Annie's door and invite her to come and explore the rest of the house.
She didn't want to for a long time.
She didn't want to for a long time. And I think that's a good point too, that, you know, when we're doing this, paying attention to the pace, it's not about picking her up and being like, come see what we've got for you downstairs. Oh my God. Like you want it to be something that she feels empowered and comfortable with. And I know last weekend when our beautiful friends were here, Dr. Katie and Pam Russell, Julianne, you were here in spirit. You're flat, still on my desk. But I was nervous about that. You can both attest to this because I was feeling like this is a very exciting time. It's only been 2 weeks. We've done some of that site swapping without the other babies around, but now we kind of I felt like we were kind of,
going too fast is what she thought,
right.
that we were going too fast. But I think the site swapping the site swapping basically, peeps, is where they can see each other, but they can't touch each other. Right.
No, wait.
Yes.
Step before is the site swapping where you let the new cat kind of explore what they'd like to outside without the other cats around.
If that's possible.
If that's possible. And then let the resident cats explore her space.
Right. Yeah. Right. And then the site visits, I guess, is the next one. Yeah. The site visits where we have some type of a barrier. Guys, Amazon makes these awesome like mesh doors.
Sells it. I don't know if
you guys, or they don't make it, they sell it, or you can get it on Amazon. But it's every other time that we've done this, we've used baby gates. Okay. Mm-hmm. Horrible because you try to stack them and then they fall and the kittens jump up and they fall on them. And it hasn't been the best in our experience, at least.
It's very
this is fantastic. So like to where now we want them to be able to see each other, but not necessarily touch each other. So that they are aware of, they've got their sense, they know that they're there, they're all feeling comfortable, and then they can see each other and be like, oh, what do you look like? And that's the next step, which is super important. I don't know all the reasons why it's important, but I guess it's kind of common sense-ish.
Thoughts?
No, I have never seen that mesh door before.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I have to get me one.
It's amazing.
That was so cool.
I know.
Can't remember.
Hey, Fran, I know you probably put it up, but how hard is it to put up?
It's easy.
It's easy.
It's really
adhesive.
easy. Yeah, it's adhesive.
Oh, it was Lindsay that told us about it.
No, it was Vicky. It was our OG VIP told us about it last time with Jack and Madison. She said they make temporary screen doors. And I was like, I was picturing, I didn't even look it up then. I was picturing that you'd have to take off the door and install a door. And I was like, we're not going to do that. And so I looked it up and I was like, oh my God. And it had raving reviews and it's
strong.
If you guys have seen our story,
it's strong. So it's not like a mosquito door or net guard. It is like literally like your story from yesterday, Jack bouncing off of it, running and bouncing. And they're both like climbing up it. And it's an incredible little like super easy to get in and out of too. So yeah.
Down and want to use the regular door. It's fantastic, but it really is an amazing step. The site swapping, a visual site. So that, and you get to see how they really respond to each other. And like you said, Katie, Jack and Annie. So Jack is our 3-year-old little boy. He is so excited to play with this little girl, and she's so excited to play. They just trill at each other, and he goes running down the stairs, and they'll come running back up, and he'll like back kick the screen, and she comes running up. It's adorable, but it's wonderful too because it's not overwhelming, right? It's not where Jack is constantly using furniture and walls and his brakes. So he's always busting his own face. So, know how he's gonna, it might be a little much if he were to really just come flying up the stairs and pounce on her. That could maybe scare her, but they're getting each other. All, what is going on up there?
They're playing.
So one of the reasons why we do that step is because it's helpful in terms of desensitization and acceptance at the same time. So, the cat's gone from, oh my God, there's an intruder in my space. I feel threatened. My territory is under attack. Regardless of how chilled out they are, that is the natural response for them. And then it's like the scent, and they're like, okay, so I can smell this cat, and they'll either go into like attack mode or like acceptance, like not bothered, and again, you're reading your cat as you're going through these steps. And with the site swapping or the time sharing, room swapping, whatever you call it, again, it's all about exposure to the smells, because that is the primary way that cats communicate. Yes, they have body language. Yes, they may chirp at us, but actually in their world as cats, they communicate through scent. So when you are moving it up to the next stage and having this kind of door exposure, whether it's the beautiful net thing that you guys have got, or if some people have got baby gates that hopefully don't fall on the cats. Oh my God, you made my heart stop when you said that. Or as it might be that you have the door open slightly, so that they can see each other, they can nose to nose, they can put the paws around. Yep. Again, you're reading the cat, because if they go running at that door and they're hissing and they're fighting and they're trying to get in, you've got a fair idea how well or not your cat is adjusting to your introductions to the new cat in this space. Yep. So if you have a cat that does that, go back to scent swapping, go back to time sharing, or do that for a bit longer. Give that cat time to desensitize and to adjust. If you've got a cat like Jack and Annie and they're like, booping and pawing and playing, great, and particularly for you guys, you've got like how many other cats as well? So the fact you've got those two that are getting on really well, brilliant. Yeah. And from my experience, it would be like, so how are the others adjusting? Because until you've got all of them that are at that playful stage rather than aggression or attack stage, which let's face it is from fear, not feeling safe, that's when things go on to the next step, right? So you can't just, I'm not saying you guys are doing this, but for anyone else that's watching, if you've got multi-cat homes, you look at the pace of the slowest adjusting cats, look at all of them, how are they all getting on? If you've got a couple that have got great relationships, brilliant. Continue to build those and help them to thrive, whilst also looking at how you're working with the others as well. So you might find you've got a couple of cats that you're doing the door work with, and you might find you've got a couple of cats you're still doing scent work with. Right. And it's okay to be at different stages when you are bringing a new cat into the home, because you're trying to help everybody adjust and adapt. So if you think about humans, oh my God, can you imagine like if we all started to live together? Like some of us would get on really well, others would be like, holy crap, you're like, I'm really struggling. And you've got to work it out, right? It's a dynamic that you've got to work out. So the door work is really important, and it gives you more information. It's brilliant. So do it as best you can, whether that's a baby gate with the nets, or even just having the door open a little bit and see what happens. So you've got that element where they're interacting, and then the next step, in my experience, would be food around that stage. But I'd be interested to know what you guys do next.
Well, that's the next step that we but I do want to say that's a very good tip, and I want to reiterate that as far as if this next step that you're taking, whatever next step that is, isn't working, then just go back. So that's that's a lot of people's problem, is that they don't take the steps backwards. They just continue to go forward, even though it's not going very well. They'll just continue to go through those steps. So that's a very good tip.
Pushing them forward, encouraging, you know what I mean? That's not, and it is, he's got something on the back of his foot. Zorro keeps walking by and he keeps kicking his little leg.
I'm telling you guys, life is like this with Adrian. Yeah. She's always distracted by the
My
cats,
bad.
always.
My bad. But it is also about the door work. Honestly, if we would had an issue with Madison feeling avoiding or being upset, or if there was a big issue, the door would then be closed again, and we go back to everyone just kind of adjusting again. So it is about paying attention to everyone in the home. Yeah. Sometimes it's very easy to be like, oh my God, Jack and Annie are so cute together. We want to let them play, but how is everyone else doing? Yeah. And
can they just play together? Is it fun? Can we just do that? Right. And then slowly. Yeah. So next step though, is the site feeding, right? So, food time, meal time is a very positive time for our kitties when they're eating their food. And so
it's also a very valuable resource that
yes.
we want everyone to feel is not threatened in any way by a new family member.
Correct. So if we can feed one of our cats on the outside of, this, like say mesh door or baby gates or whatnot, we feed the newbie on one side and the resident cats on the other side, so that they can associate mealtime in a positive manner by being able to see each other. Now, what we say is that it's, and we learned this from this step, is like, it's really easy with Annie now, but in the past with, like, say, Pooh Bear, we would feed them way far away, right? So like the kitten might be like Friday and Zorro, we're like eating right at the door, but Pooh Bear, we're going to feed him way back here where he can see them, but not be like right next to each other, say on either side of that door.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then we slowly moved him a little bit forward and a little bit forward until he was more comfortable being closer to the kittens during that positive association of meals.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, just to jump in, there's a great question that most cat parents will deal with, like Marie's asking, when they go to the vet and they come back, that's a reintroduction. So a lot of cats, because of the smells, they smell different when they go to the vet. So when you think about, like, it's a very stressful time for a cat too, going to a vet a lot of times. But when they come back, these steps are what you would follow to make sure, especially if you already know that your cats, display this behavior when they come back from the vet. So just view it as another, like, this is the steps that you would follow anytime a cat goes out of the house and comes back in, to make sure that they're safe. And usually if your cats are fine, it'll be a quick introduction. It's just to keep them safe, make sure there's no like aggression or, moving backwards with that.
Yeah, coming. That's a very good point. Coming from a vet visit, it could be a couple hours that, this whole process you can go through in a couple hours, or maybe a day, depending on, the level of fear that's going on. But I do want to say we learned another tip from someone about these vet visits, and it has really, really helped in our home. So I want to share that with you guys. Before you take your cat, before your cat even knows necessarily that they're going to the vet, take like a cloth, a sock, a towel, and rub them down where their friendly pheromones are, right? So on their head, whiskers, this area. And then we want to stow that away, right? So we want to put that into like a cupboard or something while you're at the vet. And then when you come home, you want to separate your cat from the other cats in the home, and so that they can have time to cool down, rub them back down with their own friendly scents, right? Like rub them back down with that. Smell a thing, but they will. That is like a very positive thing for them. And then allow themselves time to groom and, readjust and come to a comfortability before reintroducing them to the home. Yeah. Okay. Then what's the next step?
Next one is supervised playtime. And this is so exciting. It can be challenging with multiple cats. So I will say, my way of doing it with Annie, or what we're trying to do, is basically one at a time in there. So we'll let Madison in and we'll just kind of play and let everyone explore and just see how they do with each other. And they have a positive experience together. And we keep them short. We keep those little visits short so that there's not time for there to be, there's not time to be, there's your girlfriend. For them to start getting, or even territorial, what's the word? There's not time for stress. It's just a short, positive, exciting playtime. And they may seem like they still want to be going on, but let's keep it short, 5 or 10 minutes.
Yep. And go at their pace. So I think, well, go ahead, Julianne, and then I'll get into Annie.
So they reach something called their excitement threshold. This happens with cats when you play with them anyway, right? So regardless of whether you're doing it with a new cat or whatever, there's something called the excitement threshold where basically they're overstimulated. So even when you're playing with your cat, you'll find after however long, could be 5 minutes, could be 20, depending on your cat's level, they'll get to this point where they'll then stop playing with the toy and they'll bite you and they'll attack your fur and they'll just go like the devil. and that's the point you don't want to get to when you're introducing them, because as you said, you know, sometimes it's called play aggression. I don't like to use that term because it's not aggression, you know, and that has a bit of a bad rap in my opinion, but it's just overstimulated. So you're absolutely right. 10-15 minutes, you know, supervised interactive play. And that might be that you have one toy per cat and they're just doing it in the same room, right? It doesn't mean you're doing one toy, because again, let's think about resources. So a toy is a mouse, it's food, it's a resource. So have the cats in the room, and you might start off with a toy for each one. And it's all about building up positive experiences, positive exposure around the cat. And then the next time, you know, if that goes well, use one toy, and you know, you're doing it between them, you know. But again, short, sharp, you know, occurrences, because again, it gives you such a high chance of having a positive interaction. And it's like you're putting marbles in a jar, you know, and when that jar is full, that cat is in the home and everybody's integrated, you know. So you've just got to be, you know, put them in there every time they have an interaction, whether that's with the food or the play. But like you said, short instances will give you the most chance of it being successful.
Yeah. I prefer sparkle in the jar than marbles, but
sparkle's a different analogy. But yeah, I was like, you know, marbles is like it's an instance, you know, it's an occurrence. But yeah, sparkle jar is my favorite.
Marbles, fine. Okay. But yeah, so then we get to, you know, and this is basically where we're at with Annie now. For everyone that's asking us, she is in the process of the supervised playtimes, and we've done the one-on-one with each cat. And we continue to do that because, you know, some are adjusting faster than the others. There has not been any of the, you know, scary hissing or fighting or anything like that. This is going very well. But then we're also letting her out into the house, which I guess would be the next step, the supervised outside time. So she's coming out and playing. Oh my gosh, guys, we didn't have our phones on us. But she came out one night. I don't remember what night that was. And I wish that we would have filmed it, because every one of the cats, and our energy was really great at that point too. But she came out, she came downstairs. She started exploring the house. She was not interested in the cats as she was at like, there's this big place and all this stuff and things that I want to check out and smell. And so, but then they got really interested in her, and they started coming. This one, Zorro, started doing these
like hopping,
hops,
and trilling at her.
Yeah.
It was so adorable. And she would trill back, and then she'd do a little like sideways juggle and trill and hop. It so was cute. So
they're flirting.
Yeah. And all the cats, like they would go up, they would touch noses. And then she would be like, okay, next, what else is going on? You know, like, but there was no hissing, there was no fighting, there was none of that. So technically we could, and a lot of people would just be like, okay, now we're just going to let him go and see how that goes. She's actually going to be spayed tomorrow morning. So we're not allowing that process to happen free roam just yet. We're still doing the supervised things because she's going to have to be healing for like 1 to 2 weeks after her spay. And we still want her to have her safe space where she can heal without, you know, a bunch of other cats wanting to play with her. And then we're going to go back to the supervised time, and then the outdoor. Preferably, I mean, in my opinion, the way that we're going to do it, I think, is we'll let her out once we feel comfortable that we don't have to necessarily have eyes on her at all times. We'll let her out to play with them during the day, but still put her away in the evening so she still has her safe space and safe room where she feels good until she wants to come out. Last night, we tried the same thing. We grabbed our phones and we were going to record it. And she didn't want to come out of her room, mainly because all the cats wanted to go into her room.
All cats but Madison.
All but Madison wanted to go into her room. So she just stayed in her room and played with them. And supervised. What are you doing? Why are you up in my closet? Why are you under my bed? What are you doing? But she did get time with all of them in a small space. And we limited that to about 15 minutes as well, because it was her space.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's great to hear you're going to give her a couple more weeks after she's had her spay tomorrow, because, you know, her scent will change. after
Yeah.
she had the operation.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's going to be interesting to see how the cats react to that. So not only is she just going to go to the vets and like you said, do the work you mentioned there, her physical body will be different. So her scent will change, you know. So it's interesting to monitor how the cats react to that. I don't know, Katie, if you've got any thoughts about that with regards to, like, you know, what's going to obviously happen to her physical body and stuff, how that'll impact her.
Yeah, I mean, essentially your hormones are going to change. This is something like with Tico. I mean, we brought in an unneutered male cat into this household, and when you do neuter them or spay them, you are removing the source of hormones. Obviously, I don't feel like you're going to see a lot of potentially behavior changes from her, to be honest, like seeing her personality and all of that, but she will smell different. So it's definitely, for the other cats, I would say it's going to be the bigger adjustment for them, because it's like she left smelling one way and now she comes back completely, I wouldn't say completely different, but you're going to go through that same process again and give her that space to rest and to heal, and then just reintroduce them exactly like you're doing. So, it's very common when you find, or you rescue an animal and they didn't go to the shelter, like you're going to have to go through that process where you may have to spay or neuter them. So once again, any of those transitions are going to be treated exactly with these steps that you guys are talking about. And you don't want to rush it, especially to healing a spay surgery. It is a big procedure, even though it's a routine procedure. So there's always like a fear or worry around this too, right? Like, okay, we're worried about her healing. We don't want her. Yeah. I know Adrienne well enough to say this with love. Like,
yes.
she's a healthy cat right now. Now you have a pet that just went through a procedure and they have to heal. So you don't want her running all over and them jumping on her, because it's just going to increase that level of anxiety that's already there. So just, go slow. You're going to have her for the rest of her life. So, there's no rush. Which is going to be like 30 years at least. So
40, I'm thinking. Yeah.
40? How about 50? Longest cat ever.
I mean, I think it's really important for us, all of us, if we're inviting a new family member in, that step, what you just said, Dr. Katie, of let's look at it for the long term. It's exciting, and we know our cats are excited. Most of them are. Sometimes it's a good idea to keep things where they're at, to go slower even than we think our cats are moving at that pace, to avoid anything. I think it's hard enough for us humans to understand cats sometimes, and especially when we're doing a lifetime commitment, incorporating a new member into the family, taking this extra time and really paying attention. There's no rush. There's no reason to rush. And I feel like it's not about waiting 6 months, although we have done that in the past, but it's really just about paying attention and making sure everyone in the family is feeling affirmed and secure, right, and ready for a total integration.
And I also want to say it's also based on your schedule, right? Like we have really busy schedules. So we all of these little steps that we take have to happen when we're available for these things to happen, right? So we can't just we can't rush it, right? So we have to do it based on their pace, but also based on our schedule. And I want to say that it's also very important. Pam can speak to this because she can do it really fast, but our energy is so important when it comes to this. And I coach people all the time when it comes to these steps. I say, you have to be confident in this process. You have to feel confident. You have to feel peaceful about this whole process. That's one of the missing steps that aren't listed in the proper steps.
We should add that.
Yeah, I did in the new one. But staying confident and staying positive and keeping your energy in check during this process is going to make it go much smoother and much faster as well for all the cats involved. It's going to help older cats adjust faster. It's going to help the newbie adjust faster. It's going to help the whole situation.
Pam, any pro tips on how to do that, especially since you've been here in our home while I'm like, I think we're good. Let's put her back in the room, please. Any pro tips for me and anyone else here who may have?
I love this product. I'm going to show it to you guys. It's called Animal Relief Formula by FES Flowers. And it's a flower essence, and it's great for using for animals in transition. So if you're bringing a new animal into the home, if you've adopted one from a shelter, if an animal has gone through some kind of a tragic loss or something, this is a great spray. Just a gentle flower essence. I've used this when we've brought in kittens.
Really?
Basically, just you can spray it in their food twice a day, and you spray it on your hands, and you just rub it all over their face and their, all their scent areas, and then you do it on everybody. So it helps everybody just like, we're chilling, we're happy, we're getting along. And then I would also use color therapy, like color green, red for the cat who feels totally, his root chakra might be totally like, I'm stressed, and then Julianne with her wonderful herbs, the angelica root, the yarrow, the chamomile, all those calming, valerian, all those calming, wonderful herbs that you can just put down for the newbie as well as your resident household kitties, because everyone benefits from that. So yeah, utilize all these great tools.
Yeah. And you can utilize all these tools for yourself as well if you are super stressed about it with, therapy and herbs.
And just remember, they do pick up on our energy. So if we are stressed and nervous about it, our household cats are going to go, why are you so stressed? Maybe I should be stressed. What's wrong? Something's wrong. So I'm going to be on edge, So like you said, it's very important that we take a check on ourselves too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep.
When you go in to play with them for their supervised play, there's no point in going in like you said, Jay. Like, I've got 5 minutes before my next meeting. Quick, have a play, and you're waving a toy in their face, right. Like
Exactly.
that
setting the
your
intention.
energy.
Yeah.
Yes. And I also wanted to say, somebody put a question in here. She lives in a studio, like a flat, it's open space. I would get one of those really big crates, like the big that you see at Petco or whatever, the big dog crates, or they probably have them with like the shelves for cats too, like you would see in the shelters or the Petcos, that are just the big crate containers with the little shelves, and you can put the cat box in there. You can cover it and make them feel like they have a safe space.
Mm-hmm.
To get them accustomed to their new space, but they're confined and they're safe, but they can see.
Yeah.
So that might be an option for someone who's limited on what kind of you don't have an extra room to close off or whatever. So
right. Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah. And you could still go through all those steps the same way. Like it's covered, and then we can start to, just adjust the smells. And then, you can still go through all those steps in a tiny place if you, or an open space.
So your bathroom too would be another option, right? I imagine there's a bathroom that's closed off. Cause especially if you don't have a kitten, I could see where those crates are, like, if you're bringing, like, I look at like Tico, we have a huge, our German Shepherd came across overseas in a big like crate, but I can't even imagine what Tico would do. Like if he was confined to something, it would be a nightmare. It's this poor cat. But like, if we were in a space like that, I would just use like the bathroom and then, put things in there that are going to enrich it so they're not bored, and play with them and do as best as you can, right? Every situation can be a little bit different, but as long as you're aware of it and you're bringing that good energy and you're following these steps as much as you can, like that's great, so you can always adapt it to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I do have to say, Jack, we tried the crate thing with Jack and Madison.
I can't even imagine Jack in a crate.
Oh my God. He went cerebellar hyperplasia. Like he was like,
there's no way. Even Moki as a kitten, I would just see him, he'd be paralyzed with fear. Like, he needed that separate room. He needed at first I was like, this bed was a bad idea, but he actually like felt so safe, like being able to hide under the bed and like get used to it. And so, one of the things that we probably did right out of all the things we did wrong, like being able to open that door and sit there. And then once, once the time had passed, and Kiwi could look in, but I was like the block and the safe block for both of them, and they could just like kind of see each other too. So, because Moki's not a normal cat. I love what Pam said, like kittens don't always seem like, they're not aggressive or what, they view them as, non-threatening. Not for Kiwi. Like Moki too, he doesn't move like a normal cat. So she's like, there's this new thing, and now he's weird, and he's like bobbling his head and walking all weird, and like he moves fast and falls over, and what is this? So it's just each situation is so different. But yeah, these are great tips. I mean, I love learning from you ladies too, which is great in your experiences.
Yeah, this is
you guys are the best. I just feel like sometimes it's just like a little brain trust of all the all the different insights everyone has had, and I feel like it is so valuable for us to all to learn from each other, because all of our cats are so different. And it's so important, I think, to realize that what works for one of us isn't going to be the textbook way that it's going to work for you.
Yeah. And I want to reiterate again with Julianne saying, go at the pace of your slowest adjusting cat. That is very important. We also want to make sure, a couple of extra tips. We also want to make sure that the amount that we're spending with the new cat is equal to the amount that we are spending with our current cats, because they see a new cat here, or they know that there's a new cat here, and you're devoting all your time to the new cat, then they're going to feel a little left behind, and probably be a little bit more territorial about this newbie that's getting all of your attention.
For example, we thought we might both try sleeping in the same room with Annie
on Saturday night.
And Jack broke in.
Jack broke in within,
right? Because our other cats are like, what the hell? I try to do everything the same with the nighttime routine and all the same stuff, and everyone was kind of settled in. But the minute we disappeared behind that door, they're like, oh, hell no. Hell no.
Jack opened the door, jumped up, opened the door, came through, and was like, what's up, bitches? Like,
so,
one of you get your ass back in our bed.
You're gonna sleep with me tonight.
That's right. We're all moving in.
It's so important to pay attention to each one of the little beings in our home, and really, reiterating too. I think a lot of people think that you want to take it at the pace of the newbie, but oftentimes it's going to be a resident family member that may be having the hardest time adjusting. So it's exciting. I know we're already out of time. We're holding you guys over already, but any last minute thoughts or something that we missed or anything on the tip of your tongue?
Tips.
Yes, two things from me. So if you are struggling and you don't feel like you're making progress, or that it's not going well, go back a step, right? Go back a step, if not two, take it back. It doesn't matter how far you've come, how long you've been doing it. If it's not going well, take a step back. It's not bad. It's not wrong. It's just your journey and what you need to do. And the other thing someone mentioned about Feliway and catnip. So you and Pam mentioned about herbs. So use these things to support them. I wouldn't advise catnip, because some cats it can be excitatory. So you're gonna add energy into the mix, and that might not be a good thing. So I would stick to the calming herbs. So as Pam said, angelica root, rose, chamomile, and valerian. I would just stick to those for with the current cats and the new one. It gives them a chance to deal with any emotions that they can't express, they can't get out, they can't deal with. It's just a bit of an extra tool to give them support in this stage of transition. And Feliway, I'm not against it. I've not had any adverse reactions to it. I've had cats that aren't affected by it. It's a synthetic pheromone. Not every cat's going to be affected by it, but it does help some. So in my experience, and I'd love to just quickly see what others think, use it if you feel drawn to. It's not a miracle cure. It does not replace the behavior work and the emotional support and the mental stimulation that you need to bring to everyone. So it's like a complementary thing to do alongside all of the stuff that we've talked about.
That's key right there. That goes with anything, any natural remedy. It is never the one thing, right? No. You have to do the foundational work. But Feliway, just to touch on that briefly, we used it all the time in the clinic when we'd see dogs and cats. We would spray it before, like we had one cat room, which was nice. We worked, in a stress-free clinic, and the cats that respond to it respond amazing. It doesn't hurt, doesn't harm. It's just another tool in the toolbox. But remember, just like Julianne beautifully said, you have to do these things, and you can't rely on like an herb or one other thing or the flower essences. And sometimes you have to do a combination of those while you're doing the like behavior side of stuff. So keep that in mind, because I find people get stuck in that trap that like this is going to fix it and you haven't done the foundations.
No.
Yep. No, very good points. Very good points. Yeah. And we've had the same experience as Julianne with Feel Away in our home. We've never seen.
It worked in my house. We used it we had a plug-in. Moki did well. We sprayed it in the carrier. But it's just another tool. So you can try it, see if it works. Great. There's no adverse harm in using it.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool.
Awesome.
Pam,
So that's
anything?
Oh, Pam.
No, I think that covers it. That's awesome.
Like, I don't use Feel Away. I have my flower essences and my practice, and I'm always cool.
You are. Oh my God, ladies,
it.
thank you guys so much. I feel like this is, Julianne, thank you for this topic, especially right now as we're moving through these steps with sweet little Annie. It's just such an exciting time, and I think the excitement sometimes can make us hopscotch different steps. So I think it's so important to really when we're doing these things to set the intention and to be intentional about everything. And I love again that last tip of, if you notice things aren't going very well, take a step back or take 2 steps back. This does not need to be rushed. It's really it's building a family. So let's take it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love you guys so much.
Yes.
Thank you to everyone that joined us.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Yes, and we will be on this evening for our Q&A on Instagram and Facebook starting at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. If you guys have any other questions, come join us and we will do our best to answer them. We love you guys so much. Happy Monday.
Love you guys.
Monday.
Bye, y'all. ZB zonked out.